one night, I realized my limbs were not healing, so I grabbed some barrel cactuses and hollowed them out and stuffed a barrel cactus on each stump of a leg and on each arm. And I laid there with the barrel cactus, and it was the cactus that healed me and caused the limbs to start growing back, very small, like little frog legs. But I was healing slowly, but at this point I looked more like a turtle with a long beard. And fortunately, I was starting to heal and things were growing back. But one night I heard a ruckus, and I heard the noise of my beautiful Jesmondine. Bear! Bear! And I looked into the darkness and I saw her being carried off by people of unknown origin. And I laid chase. I grabbed up on my stumpy cactus legs and arms and dragged myself like a turtle across the plain and across the rocks. And the beautiful sheep was being carried down into the cracks of the rocks, and I made pursuit, and I went head first down and dragging myself until suddenly I was in a place of great darkness, and it was quiet. But I did hear a loud beating like this, a heartbeat, almost kind of like what you hear in a Motel 6. But ladies and gentlemen, someone lit up a torch, and I saw before me hundreds and hundreds of small savages, the mole men of the Mojave. They stood barely this high. They had pointy heads, swarthy bodies. And I realized they were capturing the sheep because they needed them for their underground mines and their mushroom farms. You see, 1,000,000 years ago, this race was existing in peaceful existence with the Indians, but when everything dried up here in the desert and it became a savanna, they went underground with their pupfish, while the Indians went to the mountains with their acorns. And nobody knew about the mole men of the Mojave. I was the first person to ever witness them. And I realized, wow, the mole men have conflict with the bighorn sheep. Maybe this could be my life's mission, to bring everyone together in happiness. I could be a peacemaker. And I started thinking about my evil past. How could I also reach out to the white people who I did wrong to, the Mexican folk, the American Indian folk, my black brothers and sisters? I decided to make things right. What will make everybody happy? What could I do here in Borrego Springs? And I realized, gambling. I decided to form an underground horse arena, and the bighorn sheep would be racing and the mole men could ride them, because this would give the mole men a new career. It would help them transition from underground to above ground. And ladies and gentlemen, I started bringing in people from Los Angeles, and they were witnessing the underground races, and they were betting money, and I was making a lot of money. Peg Leg Smith never had a gold mine, but he was underground and he was making money. It was from gambling, ladies and gentlemen. And things got pretty good, and I started saving up my money. I decided I'm not going to use this money for avarice, for drugs or alcohol, not for junior mints, nothing. I would be straight and pure, and by 1905, I'd finally saved up enough money to launch my plan to save the mole men of the Mojave and the bighorn sheep. First thing we did was me and my posse of mole men and sheep went over the Colorado River, and we dug tunnels and holes, and then we lit dynamite, and we blew up the river, and it flooded the whole plain, creating the Salton Sea. But ladies and gentlemen, I'd anticipated that moment because I had bought up all the land around there, and suddenly I had lakefront property. And we decided to take the hustle in a new direction and sell land to unsuspecting people. And everyone flocked around the Salton Sea. And it was beautiful because now, with the Salton Sea there, the mole men were protected. Nobody would go underneath there. They could hide under there. But I still had to protect the bighorn sheep. So I continued saving my money. Now, many of you think that Julian was a center of gold mining. No, that's where we laundered the money. Yes, they had many mines and tunnels, but that's where we kept the mole men and their sheep for training and riding purposes and herding. They lived underground there. But ladies and gentlemen, eventually I saved up enough money, and by 1933, I had enough money to bribe all the elected officials in California. And then we purchased the Borrego State Park. And that would protect the bighorn sheep. Ladies and gentlemen, I thought my mission had been accomplished. But some of the mole men were kind of upset by the arrangement. They wanted more money. So they headed down south around Agua Caliente, forming their own racetrack. You may have heard the Agua Caliente racetrack. They moved on after that, but things didn't go so well for them. They headed out into this one area where they habitated. Turned out to be the Carrizo Impact area. And I'm sad to say that every time one of those mole men popped his head up out of a hole to see what was going on, the U.S. military would fire artillery rounds and kill him. I think that was the origin of the whack-a-mole. But my friends, I'm here to tell you that everything you knew about Peg Leg Smith was true until 1866. But I'm happy to say that he reformed his ways. He lived because I am he. And he realized that it's more important to protect animals and to save indigenous species and to do things for the environment than to take from others. So folks, next time you're out and about, I hope you'll admire that bighorn sheep that you might see out there. There's only 300 of them. Please donate money to the ends of Borrego State Park to help them out. And the next time you see a hole in the ground, I know you'll be tempted, but please don't put your arm in there. Thank you very much. Oh, by the way, many of you may be wondering where you'd be seeing me out on the trail, and I do come outdoors once in a while I like to go to the bread bowl thing at St. Bartholomew's, have a good lunch up there. But I will be out in Hell's Canyon selling my product, dehydrated water, to any tourists who are out there hiking. You'll find this is an excellent product. You just sprinkle some crystals in a cup, add water, stir it, and I think it'll give them all the nutrition they need. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much.